Welcome to Martini Time. It's been a beautiful day here in Blackstone and holiday Monday, so there wasn't much activity on Facebook, or most of the newscasters were off. I don't know. It's just been kind of quiet. So I wanted to talk to you about language and my experience with language. So, to give you just a bit of a personal background, I started I didn't know what I wanted when I was 18, 19. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. I didn't know who I was. So I joined the Navy to find out who I was, and discovered that I wanted to get out of the Navy. So, but anyway, I met my wife in my fourth year in the Navy, so I extended a year while she got out of college, and she was going to be an English teacher, and I thought, whoa, I could be an English teacher. So I got out and went to Old Dominion and studied to be an English teacher. And I taught English for 3 years up in Loudoun County, and I was not really good at it. I quit after the first year, but then decided to come back. Eighth graders almost killed me. And so my third year there, I suppose if I had not had a spiritual awakening, a transformative awakening, I probably would have stayed there and have retired and have a nice teacher's income, and I don't know what, you see. But I had this very radical awakening in which I totally dropped out of my Ed Conley and wanted to teach spiritual awakening. I was quite. I probably needed therapy at the time. So anyway, I knew that I could no longer teach from the textbook, because I threw the textbook in the trash can, and like To Sir with Love and all of those teacher movies in the 60s where you throw away the textbook and start teaching from the heart. So I just started teaching from the heart, and in the class. Of course, I only had about a month left before the end of the year, but anyway, I did it and threw the text in the trash, and I did a lot of weird things and had them stand on their head. And my final exam was listening to the notice how cuckoo I was. Listening to the recording of Zorba the Greek, which has the Zorba the Greek music and also has the wisdom sayings of Zorba punctuated throughout the song, the music, kind of like a man needs a little madness or else he never cuts the rope. Well, I had a little madness, and I even gave that as a final exam. Write your impressions after listening to the tape, stuff like that. So anyway, I knew I was cooked as an institutional teacher, but I still wanted to teach, but I didn't know, So anyway, but I guess the point I wanted to make here, to stay on track, is that I was an English teacher, and I was teaching grammar and English, and my wife continued to be an English teacher. And now I've discovered that there is life after grammar. There's life after language. And I've discovered that we are trapped by our grammar, our structure of language, because our thinking self, our identity, the one that fell off of me back in 1968, that identity is created and maintained by language and by society, which is a language society. I mean, we all relate to each other through our language. And if something doesn't fit our language, we don't know what it is, can't cope with it, don't deal with it, whatever. So anyway, the language structure, the grammar, the structure of the Indo-European language, which is what the English is a part of, is subject, verb, object. Everything falls into that formula. There's a subject, a noun, who does something to an object, another noun or something. Subject, verb, object. So the main point in our language is that everything is a noun nouns doing things to other nouns. And that is the way we perceive reality. We have to make it fit our language because our language is our thinking. And our sense of self is a thinker, is created by language. So this sense of self in the modern mind, the modern world, this we call it an ego or a viewpoint or a sense of self, an I, you see, is maintained and supported by and created by language. We think. Descartes even said, I think, therefore I am. So I'm a thinking machine, you see. But that forms us into the structure of the language. Some languages don't have nouns, they just have verbs. Navajo language. Ancient Hebrew language didn't, was verbs. Action. Everything is action in a language that has no nouns. So this is a structure of time, too. See, nouns are things that exist in time. And time is movement. So if a noun does something to another noun, there's movement in time. And it's kind of linear like that. I do something, boom, 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 happens here. The effect here, you see. So everything is kind of structured like that. But mysticism, the search for self, non-duality, spirituality, seeking, all of self-realization, enlightenment, all of this stuff runs up against the restrictions and the boundaries and the prison of language, because you can't find who you are if you're looking for yourself in language. So the structure is I and it, and I'm the doer, and I think and I do things to its, you see. And that is a abstract reality created by language that we believe is real. So we try to make reality fit this, you see. And so the big discovery in awakening is that you're not your language. I remember the first time I had that satori. It was before this awakening in 68. I don't know. I was in college, I think. And I remembered I'm not my thought. And I still remember that idea. Now that idea, I'm not my thinking, is not a thought. It's an idea. And there's a big difference between an idea and a thought, you see. Because thought comes from your memory, what you know. An idea is what you don't know. And an idea comes from your being. And then you think about the idea, but the actual idea is more like a flash bulb going off, you see. It's more like an inspiration, an insight. And then that idea can be pulled apart and thought about and written, and using thought can work it out, you see. But the idea itself is not thought. It transcends thought. So I had the idea, when we all probably have, I hope you all have that idea, that you are not your thinking. And that is a revolutionary idea, because it's an awakening idea. Because we're conditioned to believe that we are thinking. That I think, therefore I am, you see. But who is it that thinks, you see? And that's beyond grammar. That's beyond language. Because language is structured as an ego. I think of myself as the subject, and then there are objects out there. And then I do things to it. But I'm not the doing, you see. I'm the thing that does things. So we get stuck in this idea that is almost impossible to break out of, that I'm the doer, and I'm doing something in time, and I want to be free of language. I want to be free of suffering. I want to be free of my prison. I want to be free, you see, like Zorba. What do I have to do? So what do I, the subject, what verb do I have to do to get to the object, which is to be Zorba? You see. Or to be whatever idea I have that I will be free of this, you see. So I want to get to a place that's free of this place, but this place, this thing wants to do it. Perfect trap. The subject cannot free itself and become an object in its own mind, because the subject and the object are all part of the same mind. The subject, the verb, and the object is all the same mental process, you see. So what is there beyond that? What transcends that? Well, we really can't discover that because nobody can tell you. I can't tell you. Nobody can tell you. It has to be discovered. And you can only discover it when you realize the limitations of language and thinking. And when you realize that you're kind of like going in a circle, that you're repeating yourself, that you're tape looping, that you're in a Groundhog Day, and you begin to sense that your thinking is circular and that you're just repeating yourself emotionally and through thought processes, through your conditioning. And you think you're getting out of it, but you discover, wait a minute, I'm still here. This is just like it has always been. I just go up another flight of stairs, but it's still going in a circle, you see. So that's the big realization in the spiritual journey, is when you realize that thinking and all of your effort, you see, is circular, that you're not going anywhere. And so you really come to the end of the spiral staircase, in a sense, or the merry-go-round, when you realize that all of your effort through thinking in time, through doing this or doing that or doing more yoga or doing more study or whatever you have to do, you see, is going to get you there. The subject is going to get to the object through this study or this verb or something. You see, you realize, you see the whole framework. You see the whole grammar. You see the whole formula. It's not like you see it's not the content that you see, it's the grammar or the structure or the formula or the equation that holds it. You see the pattern. You see the pattern that holds it. You see the pattern is, it's like a pattern is like fill in the blank. I mean, you put things in relationship, but you can put things differently in there, you know. It's like an algebraic formula. You have A plus B equals C. Well, you can substitute different things for A and B and get C if you have the right relationships, you see. So you're seeing the pattern. And what is the pattern? The pattern is the verb. But you see, you can't see verbs. It's a verb. You can see a noun, like I'm looking at this iPad, that's an iPad, that's a noun. You can look it up in the dictionary, it tells me what it is. If I pick up something, this is a martini, this is a chicken, it's got a dictionary, it's got a noun, you see. So, it's all defined, you see, but you can't see a verb. But the verb is the pattern that holds the nouns. So that if you could see the pattern, so you can't see you can see patterns. It's called connecting the dots. It's called games people play. You can see a game a person plays. You don't see the content is always different, but the pattern's the same. So you see the pattern of a person who's playing games on you by realizing the pattern. Well, he did this yesterday, he did this before that, you see. Different time, different things, different situations, but the pattern's the same. So the facts are the pattern. And the content can change, you see. So when you see the pattern, you have a revelation. Because now you're seeing you're transcending the content. And you're seeing what holds the content and makes it repeat, which is karma. You see. So and we all do this. I mean, we see patterns in other people. It's not easy to see patterns in yourself. That's the trick, you see. You can see other people having patterns, and you can tell them about it, and they'll say, they'll get angry at you because they don't want to see the patterns. We don't want to see the patterns. That's why we do the patterns. The games we play is to hide our true self. So we hide in grammar. We hide in language, you see. We hide in the definitions, in the dictionary definitions of everything. The verb is the living thing. The verb is the living action of life, you see. But we perceive it all locked up in nouns, in things, in dictionary definitions of everything. The law, the grammar. That's why I used to, if I would write something and give it to my wife, and she would look at it and just find all the mistakes. I would get so frustrated. Well, what'd you think of the piece? What'd you think of the insight? Give me that. Give me the insight. Give me what you thought of the meaning of it, and then go ahead and find the errors. But she would lead with the errors, and then I would, then there was forget about it. But anyway, so most of us, we like to lead with the grammar because we're all maybe English teachers at heart. We all like to correct other people and point out when they're wrong, and that's a pattern. There you go right there. We like to be the English teacher who informs and corrects everybody and points out how they can do better. This is for your own good now. I'm going to correct you for your own good. This is for your good, And but that's a pattern. So anyway, I hope you pause for a minute and check into your daily, everyday world and notice if you're in any patterns at all. You can see them and become, but this is not a judgmental thing. Oh no, stupid me. You see, no. It's just noticing it without judgment. And of course, that's difficult for an English teacher. Thanks for dropping in.